People who lost their jobs by going off on a customer. What is your story? I didn't say this, but I saw it happen. Working at Burger King many years ago, I was working the drive-through register, which was close enough to the front registers that I could hear conversations. One of my co-workers was taking an order from a lady who kept asking how much her total was and then canceling food on it and changing her mind. I guess she was trying to keep under a certain dollar amount. Well, at the Burger King I worked at, any cancelled food on an order needed a manager's password, thanks to one hole who stole money by putting in someone's order, telling them the total, and then cancelling out the order and pocketing the money. So the manager had come by 3 or 4 times at that point. This was during dinner time, mind you, so there was a line of customers out the door waiting to order. Finally, my co-worker pulled out a pad of paper and a calculator. He started writing this woman's order down and totaling it out by hand. The woman asked him why he was doing that, and he told her, "When you make up your mind about what you want, then I'll put it in the register." This pissed off the lady, so she grabbed the notebook and tried to hit my co-worker with it. He snatched it back from her and told her get the duck out. My manager was only going to write him up for it, since the manager agreed that the lady absolutely deserved it. But my manager had to follow company policy, but he already had 2 write-ups on file, so she had to fire him. Edit. Oh hey, my first gold. I worked for Kroger from high school to early college. One day I was coming from the back dock when I saw a woman slip and fall and hit her head on the corner of the end cap. She gashed her head open a bit and said her one side felt a little numb. I grabbed the emergency kit, put on the latex gloves, grabbed a 4x4 bandage and held it over her to the bone cut and supported her neck. We called 911 and they were there in a few minutes. Medics take over, put a C-collar on her and get her ready to transport. Medicers say thanks and leave with her. A few minutes later I get called into the manager's office by our absolute CNT rag of an assistant manager. She has a write-up ready and I ask what for. She was writing me up for helping her because that establishes we did something to cause it. I explained to her that I was one of 5 people in the store who were trained to use the BBP kit, bloodborne pathogen. She didn't care. I called the store general manager and he told her to rip it up and asked her what was wrong with her, to let a customer sit there with a massively bleeding head wound and possible neck injury or do something. He tore the write-up the next day and about 2 weeks later she was transferred to one of the worst stores in the zone. Many a year ago I worked at a home improvement store called Menards. I was a cart pusher, which was nice as I was outside all the time. Anyway, we gather about 25 to 30 shopping carts together and push them up to the entrance where they are stored inside. Now to get them there we do have to cross the main drive of the parking lot in front of the store. We always stop and let customers drive by. So as I push the carts up I stop because I see a guy in a pretty nice SUV. He is actually stopped in front of the entrance. Maybe he dropped someone off, I do not know. So I'm waiting to see if he drives off, and he then looks at me and waves me across. Looks like he wanted to finish a call he had gotten or something. So I wave back and start pushing the carts across. I'm on the other side when some clips me across the shoulder blades and it stung somewhat and pushed me forward. And at the same time I heard glass shatter. I turn around and the guy in the SUV clipped me with his side view mirror. It had swung closed and shattered the window and the door, and I'm just standing there wide-eyed. 2 seconds later the guy gets out of his car swearing up a storm at me and how I'm a low-life piece of shit and how I'm going to pay for a new window and that I'm not going to get anywhere in life because I broke his window. Now I'm the type of person that if I was the reason I'll take the blame and fix the problem. But this guy hit me. I blew up on him for about 5 minutes before a manager finally had the guts to come over and pull me away. I didn't have to pay for a new window as it was on video, but I lost my job because we are not supposed to yell and cuss at the customer. Edit. Holy hit. New year and Reddit gold. Thanks guys. I didn't get fired, but I was written up and yelled at management. It was the reason I quit a week later. I'm in my early 40s. For fun, I took a part-time job at a Legoland Discovery Center. I love Lego and love kids. It was a blast most of the time. However, at Legoland, employees build their name tags out of Lego bricks and attach minifigs. Kids who visit can trade minifigs with employees. The rule is that we have to trade because it's fun for the kids. Great. The only problem is that the center I worked at didn't supply any good minifigs. We just built our own from the Build-A-Fig buckets. I worked in the photo and entertainment departments and noticed that lots of our guests would bring in their extra minifigs looking to trade, but were disappointed by the selection. So I began to buy tons of the mystery minifigs and had a large collection of my own at home. Each weekend, I put a bunch in my pockets and put them on my Nama tag throughout the day so that I could trade. I liked having Ninjago or Simpsons or whatever. I wanted kids to leave happy about their trade and feeling like they got something special. Most weeks I spent $75 or more on minifigs for trading. On May the 4th, I pulled out all my personal Star Wars minifigs because I knew we would be getting a lot of Star Wars fans that day. I had Vader and many stormtroopers, etc. This woman came in with a 3-year-old girl and insisted that I give her my stormtrooper. She didn't have anything to trade, but I smiled and gave it to her. Then the mom went and took a minifigs piece from the build tables and made her daughter trade with me for my Vader. I traded but was irritated because I only trade one of my personal ones per kid. There were lots of employees to trade with. The mom just wanted her kid to have my nice ones. The lady goes on to another area and in comes a group of likely Star Wars fans. One of the girls had a Ninjago minifig in her hand that she had brought from home. She was looking for someone to trade with and was headed over to my section. I put Admiral Akbar, a fairly rare one you can only get from the X-Wing fighter build set, on my tag along with Leia, excited thinking that I'm going to make their day. In swoops the lady who demand that I trade all of my figures to her kid, who has 3 minifig pieces. I politely refuse and suggest that she ask the employee a couple feet away, since we had previously traded twice already. She got very angry and began screaming at me because she had gone around the center and no one else had anything good. My manager came over and made me give her all of my minifigs, even the ones I still had in my pockets. I was written up for refusing to trade and not caring about the guest experience. I was so pissed because I cared very much about the guest experience. Not the pushy parent experience, but the experience of the kid who just loves Lego, and that's why I spent so much of my own money to make sure they left with something cool in their pockets. Edit. Wow. I'm amazed so many people care about this and Lego. I still love Lego. Didn't mean to disparage the company. Plus, Legoland Discovery Centers are owned by a different company. Edit. Gold. I'm humbled. I don't know how to process that. Thank you, kind Redditor. It wasn't me, but I've been told about it. Some guy just passed his training for a call center and a few days in, he answers the phone to a customer and they get into an argument. The argument goes on for nearly an hour, and when the customer hung up, the guy called him back to continue the argument. The guy was in his late 50s and lost his job very quickly after. Not me, but my mother. She was working at an upscale cocktail lounge in Arlington, Virginia, just out of college. Fancy place, all DC businessmen. It was common for large groups of men to come in and get absolutely wasted. One night, a guy decided, after a few cocktails, that it would be hilarious to untie the wrap skirt that was part of her uniform. Bad idea. My mother was furious and dumped an entire tray of martinis on his head. She was promptly fired, but still thinks it was worth it. A woman came into a charity shop and complained about every single item loudly to the tenor, so customers in there, along the lines of "this is all who pays for this?" Like we are some boutique with clothes from the back of a van. She clearly didn't understand how rarely new clothes, still tagged DTC, are donated. Then she got in my face about it. I was so angry with her for chasing away the people that came in that I lost my cool. There was nobody left except her since she'd ranted them into leaving. I told her to get out and I didn't give a hit about the clothes or her opinions. She screams her way out of the shop, broadcasting it to everyone on the street. She came back once the manager was off their break and complained again, so I lost my job fairly soon after. I can't blame them, I'd have done the same. Ducking. Subscribe to Reddit Throne. Ducking subscribe to Reddit Throne.